Hello, thank you so much for coming back, and a happy Father's Day to any fathers who might be watching me right now. And in light of Father's Day, I want to tell you guys a little bit about the memories I have of my father. He passed away 14 years ago. He died from prostate cancer. And I remember at the time, this was like the hardest thing I ever had to deal with, and it was the very first time I was coming face to face with an illness that was so intense. There are times that I had to help take care of him. He came from this very strong, able man to someone who was now bedridden and couldn't walk and just had to be helped with almost everything. And so this really took a toll on me. As I said, I had to help take care of him, and also I was in that room the morning that he took his last breath. So that was really hard, but I don't want to talk about that today. I want to talk about the memories I had of him. His name was Mzee Obonyo Konyuka, and if anyone knew him, you remember that he was a very generous man. Like, he had a very big, kind, and good heart, like a heart of gold. I remember he'd always help. If you came to him with a problem, or if you needed something, my father was always ready to help, and there were always people at home. This is like something that I saw straight from a young age. He always encouraged that if you had something extra and you would spare, then go ahead and do, just help out. He didn't wait for someone to come to him for help or anything like that. He was always ready to help, take people in, to just take care of them. So this is something that is very vivid in my mind. The other thing I remember about my father is that he was very honorable, and this made me really proud to be his daughter. The people were always seeking his opinion on things. If there were disputes, they always came to him to solve those disputes. If they needed help with anything, or they needed something consulting, they always came to my father. I remember so many times we'd wake up to a couple at home. A couple would come, one would be sitting facing the other side, and another would be sitting facing another side, and they'd wait for my father to help them solve whatever they were going through. And at the end of the day, you see them walk home together. And so this is also something that I really miss, especially like sometimes when we have the little family fights, and it becomes a bit difficult to solve. That time I really miss him, because if my father was alive, he'd handle it in a very different way. So that is also something that I remember about him. I also remember that he's an archiver. He kept things, and he was very organized. He had this brown leather suit, not suitcase, but a briefcase, where he kept all the important documents in. And so the kids, us, we were not allowed to touch it. But he also gave birth to a very curious child. And so when they were not around, I'll creep in to check what was inside. You know how it is. When you're told to not do something, this is what you want to do, to test the waters and see why these people are stopping you from doing whatever they're telling you not to do. And so one day I creeped in to check. Obviously, this is where after I was grown, I was a very obedient child. And so I creeped in to go see what was inside this briefcase that we were not allowed to touch. And true, it had very important documents, like almost everything, I think everything he owned in original copies. And so that was one side. On the other side, he had our reports for every single kid. We are seven siblings. My sister is late now, rest in peace. But he had all of us. He had everything that belonged to all of us, like very, very tiny details, to like reports from nursery school. My brother is quite old now. The eldest brother, he is quite old, but he had his reports from primary school. Every tiny little detail was in this briefcase that my father had. And so that it goes to say that this man really was really proud, and cared about us, in his way. He was very loving and caring, I have to say. But the other thing I also have to say is that he was a disciplinarian. My father was not one of those people you'd play around or joke around with. No, he was very strict, and we always had to act right with my father. You cannot go jumping around and acting all silly, especially if we had like people around or people over at home. You always had to get your act together. So he he did not play around with that, you know. And as last ones, sometimes we like testing the waters to see, like I did this with my mom a lot, to just see what would happen, but I'd never do this with my father because I knew how it would end. But all in all, he was a very caring man, and a very loving man. Anyone who knew him would remember him like that. And so wherever he is, I really hope that he is at peace. Yeah, and just everything is okay. And I hope he's proud of who I have become as a person. Yeah, so anyways, a happy Father's Day to all you dads out there, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye bye.